Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to herewith call to order the commencement or continuation of the 50th anniversary celebrations for Barbados National Standards Institute. I will first like to apologize for the minister who was unable to attend. We will be, however, graced by the presence of the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Hunt, and he will be joining us quite shortly. Without further ado, I would like for you to stand as we play the national anthem. You may sit. Welcome again. Let me officially introduce myself. My name is Mr. Damien Prescott. I am a meteorologist at the BNSI. A bit of housekeeping. I would like to kindly ask if you can turn your cell phones to silent or on vibrate so as to not disturb any of the proceedings. We've all checked that box. Yes? All right. Protocols aside, I would like to introduce and recognize some of our distinguished guests, even though all of you are distinguished. So I would like to recognize the presence of our chairman, Mr. Ryan Braffett. The permanent secretary, Mr. Kevin Hunt, will be joining us shortly, so he will slip in as soon as he arrives. We also have in attendance, who needs lashes? Who needs lashes? Keith? Are we good now, Keith? All right. We'd also like to recognize the presence of our director, acting, Mr. Hayden Ryan, as he should be here. Thank you for attending, sir. We also have some of the members of the board of directors of the BNSI, management and staff, government officials, captains of industry, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. We are henceforth commencing our proceedings. I would like to introduce Ms. Vanessa Mason, Secretary to the Director, to give her opening remarks. Ms. Mason.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to join Damien in recognizing the presence of our chairman, Mr. Ryan Braffett, our director, Mr. Hayden Ryan, as well as specially invited guests, the captains of industries. We also have in our presence Mrs. Margaret Campbell-Leslie, Deputy Director of the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. We also have with us Ms. Andrea Taylor. She is from the Small Business Association. We also would like to welcome the contingent from Cross Q who have came to celebrate with us. And of course, we want to welcome our staff and any specially invited guests. So it's my pleasure on behalf of the Barbados National Standards Institution to welcome you to our Visibility Conference. And this is our second annual Visibility Conference, and this year is particularly special because it's our 50th anniversary. Now, it's no secret that the BNSI is indispensable in any efforts towards development in Barbados. Just consider the crucial role standards play in increasing access to international markets for local businesses, protecting the environment, mitigating against the disastrous events of climate change, and solidifying systems and processes in digitization. Noteworthy, standards and standardization are not the only items that are on the work program of the Barbados National Standards Institution. The BNSI is tasked with providing other quality infrastructure services, namely accreditation, metrology, certification, and testing. We can appreciate the importance of accreditation in verifying the technical competencies of organizations like laboratories, metrology in providing traceability, accuracy, and consistency of measurement in getting value for money in the terms of the food we buy. Certification in guaranteeing standards are met, testing in making sure that materials used in construction meet the required threshold for safety. With all that said, I trust that I have piqued your interest because that is the basis of what you will hear throughout today's program. Speakers and presenters will emphasize the role of the BNSI and highlight key accomplishments during the financial year 2022 to 2023. In all the areas I have mentioned, not only will the institution's activities be highlighted, but the invaluable efforts of staff will be recognized. And this will be no doubt my favorite part of the program because I've been hinting at my director about a trip to the Mediterranean on a cruise. So I trust that he will grant me that. In closing, we thank you for breaking away from your busy day to join us here today, as we do not take this for granted. The work of the BNSI is a springboard for achieving sustainability, and the BNSI has been committed and remains committed to pioneer standards another 50 years forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa, for that wonderful opening remark session. At this point, as we continue along the ceremony program, I would like to introduce, to give his open remarks, the Finance Manager of the Caribbean Regional Organization for Standards and Quality, CROSQ, Mr. Mohan Nanwani. Mr. Nanwani.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Energy and Business, Mr. Kevin Hunt. Chairman of the Board of the Barbados National Standards Institution, Mr. Ryan Brathwaite. Board of Directors of the BNSI. Acting Director of the BNSI, Mr. Hayden Ryan. Secretary to the Director, for your opening remarks. Thank you, Ms. Vanessa Mason. Management and staff of the BNSI and the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality. Government officials and representatives of other quality institutions. Members of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I promise I was debating whether to start with a joke this morning or not, going down in the car. But I'm going to spare you that. So first of all, maybe I'll tell it at the end. It's a good one. Let me extend my apologies for the CEO, Mr. Derek Omar, who could not be here today. He's overseas on business travel, and he asked that I deliver these remarks on his behalf. My name is Mohan Nanwani, Finance Manager at the CROSQ, and he's asked me to convey his heartiest congratulations on behalf of the CROSQ. It's the CROSQ Secretariat, its network of the 14 bureaus of member states, of the 14 CARICOM member states, on this significant anniversary of the BNSI. I'd like to focus these few words on the contribution of the BNSI to our own development of regional quality infrastructure. And this is from the cross-Q perspective. 50 years of history is no small feat. In fact, even for a person to reach 50 years of age is a significant achievement. The cross-Q itself celebrated its 20-year anniversary last year. And when we look at how much we've accomplished in the region over the last 20 years, it blew us away. When we look at where the bureaus of standards were, when we look at where the regional machinery was, it blew us away to see how much we had accomplished at the cross-Q in 20 years. So then we thought to ourselves, well, how much more so for the BNSI? And how much more so did it accomplish in twice as long, in a period of time, 50 years? Well, in retrofitting its laboratory, as well as increasing the presence of the institution in the public space within the recent years, has served as a good indicator of how the BNSI is developing and advancing its reach. In fact, the cross-Q has assisted with the development of its labs. Through our partners at the CDV, we've managed to facilitate equipment to the extent of maybe about 70,000 US. Some of it arrived and some of it is still yet to arrive, but the cross-Q was certainly very happy to facilitate that. The recent offering of quality management training to businesses locally, followed by the awarding of certificates to those businesses that participated during the last visibility event earlier this year, was quite a step also in the right direction. It is offerings and opportunities such as these for businesses that will help to grow a consciousness of quality and also to increase the visibility of the BNSI amongst its target groups. At the regional level, we know the work we do is not easy. It is highly technical, and it is not easily understood. But the most important thing is the value of quality to the growth and sustainability of businesses, and Barbados' bottom line cannot be overstated. To trade anywhere beyond the borders of this country, whether you go regionally or internationally, businesses need to understand the requirements that must be met. And key among those requirements will be whether the product or services meet the quality parameters. And what does that mean? Well, the CEO of the cross-Q likes to tell and give an anecdote, and he speaks of a container being stopped at the port, and that's when people start to think about quality infrastructure and quality. And I'll give that same example of the container being stopped at the port. I'm sure many of you who've ever heard one of his speeches would have heard him talk about that. So, in congratulating the BNSI for 50 years, we must also congratulate you for your sustained contribution at the regional level, working with all the CARICOM member states to ensure our region is not left behind. And some of you may know that previous directors of the BNSI would have also served as the chair of the Cross-Q Council over a period of time. And so not only has the BNSI participated as a director of the Cross-Q Council, but also they've helped guide the Cross-Q Council over the years. You remain at the table as decisions that impact our roles and QI development within the region are also made. And at this point, I'd like to thank Acting Director Ryan also too for sitting as a director on the Cross-Q Council and also serving on the subcommittees of the Cross-Q Council. He serves on he's a modest fellow, but I'll talk him out this morning. So he serves on the Finance Committee of the Cross-Q Council and the Human Resources Committee of the Cross-Q Council. And for those sacrifices, we truly thank you. He can also be called on at a moment's notice to lend administrative support to the Cross-Q. And we do that quite frequently, just so you know. We also see the commitment of your staff in regional projects and initiatives from where you stand to benefit. And we applaud you and your drive and your team's drive to helping the island of Barbados to improve. At CrossQ, we are very pleased at how far you have come, and we are eager to see you implement your plans for the future. Before I close, I just want to mention something that many of you in the room may not know, but I mentioned earlier in my remarks that CrossQ celebrated its 20-year anniversary last year. And in 2002, when the organization first started, as you can imagine, starting any business, any activity, any organization is not easy. You need resources, you need people, you need funding. And how these regional organizations go is that they're funded by the member states. But before all of that could have happened, it needed a little help before the resources and so on were put in place. And who stepped in to fill the breach? The BNSI. So in the first year or two of its operations, the BNSI assisted administratively, financially, to get the CrossQ going. And that certainly meant the difference between whether we failed or succeeded, in those early days. And if you walk through the halls of the CrossQ, there are some staff members, and I know one is here this morning, and they will speak fondly of the early days and the earliest interactions with the BNSI and its relationship with the CrossQ. I mean, I was not there, although you may think that I'm old enough that I could have been there for 20 years, but certainly I too have come along and heard the stories of the work that the BNSI did with the CrossQ in those early years, and I believe that has set the template for what's happening now and what will probably happen in the future. So, Acting Director Ryan, to you and your team, to the board, to the management, congratulations, and may this be the tip of the iceberg of things to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nanwani, for that excellent context on the history of the BNSI as well as CrossQ and the collaborative works that would have been undertaken to get us from our commencement point to where we are today. And certainly, the importance of standards and quality across the sectors, locally as well as regionally, cannot be underscored enough. If I may, before I introduce the director to give his remarks, let me just break some more ice in the room. Obviously, being a steward of quality, I have a keen eye for conformance and non-conformance. So my girlfriend, she is going into a venture where she's making natural juices. So this is about 6 months now she's been undertaking this initiative. So she often comes to me and she says, well, babe, taste this juice and let me know if it's right. I said, but you've been doing this for the last 6 months, man. I ain't got to taste your juice for you all the time. He said, well, at least I have you here because you're in standards. So once you said it's okay, it's okay. So I said, touche, you win that one. Yeah? All right, so I'd like to invite Mr. Ryan up to the stand now to give his report. Mr. Ryan, Director of the BNSI. Please step forward.
Thank you, Damien. Truth be told, he's never offered any of this juice to myself, and I doubt if any of the colleagues at BNSI, I'm more shaking the head, no. So we're yet to receive this juice, sir. But thank you, and for Mr. Nadwani, I too thank you, sir, for your remarks, for your kind words. We've partnered with the CrossQ from the inception, as you've heard, from 2002 when it was born. And the birth really involved the BNSI from the very, very beginning. So I'd like to thank you for your very kind remarks as we continue to partner with the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality. Mr. Kevin Hunt, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Business. Ministers and permanent secretaries viewing online, because we're streaming as well, we welcome you. Mr. Ryan Brathwaite, Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Barbados National Standards Institution. Good morning to you, sir. Members of the board of BNSI, management and staff, hardworking staff of the BNSI, Mr. Mohan Nandwani, finance manager of CrossQ, staff of CrossQ, specially invited guests, and champions of businesses and industry, distinguished guests from other public agencies and quality institutions, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, and of course all of the online viewers. A hearty welcome. It's really a pleasure to have you here today and to be standing here this morning at our Visibility Conference, Pioneering Quality 50 Years Forward. Of course, I would like to take this opportunity to give special thanks to the Minister of Energy and Business, and by extension, the government of Barbados, really for funding the institution and allowing for the continuity over 50 years. So I thank you sincerely. Previous directors, Mrs. Anthea Ishmael, of course, we thank you for your service over the years and your tenure, and of course our first director, Mr. Dudley Rind, who incidentally, he was involved with the public-private partnership, not just of BNSI in Barbados, but he also founded standards bureaus with Antigua and Barbuda, and he also founded the Belize Standards Bureau as well. Really a visionary in terms of his regional sight of what it will make for us to be competitive, to really facilitate trade, and to protect our consumers as a region. So we welcome you, sir. He too is viewing online at the moment, I'm told. The hardworking staff of BNSI, we're 50 years in, and I really thank God for the opportunity for us to have sailed through the years to this date. It has not been easy. And when I mention hard work, I am talking about late hours, a committed team. And I really applaud you sincerely for your sacrifice and for the work that you've done to bring the institution this far. I thank you. So in 1973, it all started. It started at an old Bay Street Boys School room. So there's a Bay Street Boys School at the time, and everything started there. 3 individuals, the director at the time, his secretary, and then they had the driver messenger. So for quite a few years, BNSI were 3 people. They did not have a washroom. They shared the space with the GIS at the time. They did not have a maid or a cleaner. The then director used to use his own resources to have the place clean. And that's how we started. So here we are now 50 years later. We've come a long, long way, I must admit. Thankfully, we have amenities. But we've really come a long way. We have 2 locations now, if you don't know. So we've been ably administered by the BIDC, Export Barbados. They're our tenants, we're their tenants. And this is in Harbor Road. And then we have laboratory services in Culloden Road as well. We've really expanded from a 3-person operation. And over time, we've evolved considerably to where BNSI has been restructured, and the work program 2023 to 2026 is really positioned to give special focus on measures to stimulate economic growth and on strategic quality solutions to the economic problems of Barbados. So this report I'm about to give you really gives the involvement of BNSI over the last financial year in this regard, and it outlines the key activities and initiatives that the institution has been involved with. Now, later in the day, you're going to get more detailed presentations, but I'm going to give you a broad overview. We are tasked with developing what they call the country's national quality infrastructure. It's known as NQI for short. And it's a difficult task because although many businesses take high quality of goods and high quality of services seriously, there's still the need for many to embrace quality as a competitive strategy and apply a quality mindset to all activities. So we're on the road, but we're still a way to go where Barbados and Barbadian businesses and Barbadian citizens really embrace what we call a quality culture, where you're not positioning just for shortcuts or to meet the mere minimum obligations for compliance. We're saying, no, we have to develop quality as an overall strategy. We have to have a culture of quality Barbadians for our businesses. And that's a shift. That's a paradigm shift, and that will take increased effort, not just from the BNSI, but we do need a holistic approach and a concentrated national program to have quality as a complete strategy for Barbados. BNSI, we've developed a quality policy. It's called a National Quality Policy, and this is in view of all that I've said with the quality culture. Now, the plan for the policy, and this policy has been agreed to by Cabinet to be developed, and it includes, of course, policies on the quality infrastructure. So as we know it, we develop standards that are relevant to Barbados. We allow for testing and verification of products in Barbados. Certification and accreditation, you have heard a little bit about that before, and the importance for certification for our businesses to be competitive. So the policy really outlines how international standards needs to be the bedrock in policy for our quality infrastructure. Policy on quality promotion. Are we serious about how we promote quality in Barbados? Is it done strategically or just ad hoc? And we need to have policies from the very top really speaking to the promotion of quality so that we can develop these centers of excellence that we're all striving for. Policies on trade facilitation. Policy on market access, PS. Policy on relationships with the international organizations that we are increasing our cooperation and our relationships. Policy on technical cooperation agreements. Policy on the way that we procure goods and services in Barbados. So the national quality policy really will embrace all sectors, all of our developing sectors, where policy for quality is really going to be an embedded strategy. The implementation of the policy is going to be through a National Quality Council, and that's a 7-member council. Again, we're in the process of implementing the council to really drive the quality policy implementation in Barbados. Undoubtedly, and it was mentioned by Mr. Nandwani, he spoke about our laboratory, and undoubtedly that is one of our major successes since 2020. We've increased the capacity of our laboratory services, which you will hear in greater detail from Ms. Seeley, who's looking at me as though to say, don't steal my thunder, and I won't. And she will present to you, you know, where we've come in terms of the BNSI's reach. But I will say that over the past 18 months, the BNSI lab has risen to support over 19 major national construction and capital works projects in Barbados, to the tune of $300 million of capital work projects. Our BNSI lab has been able to support. So I applaud the lab team. I see Keith and his team there looking on, smiling, because they are the heart of a lot of that success that we have able to reposition the BNSI laboratory from 2020 to really be able to be functional for the demand. And we had to foresee an increase in demand, PS, for the construction, because that was one of the ways in which our country responded, even in COVID, to continue to stimulate economic activity. So well done, BNSI team, for the laboratory services. By actively participating in international standardization, BNSI has helped to reduce what we call technical barriers to trade. I won't go in too much detail now. Perhaps with the other presentations, we'll have that opportunity. But this year, one of the highlights was that we hosted the Pan American Standards Commission. They're commonly known as COPANT. We were able to host their General Assembly for the very first time in the Caribbean, right here in Barbados, and that was April 23rd to 26th. We were able to host the COPANT General Assembly with tremendous success. So the government of Barbados and business community, we are able now to cultivate those new relationships as we seek to have international quality experts partner with us as we build out our quality infrastructure. So again, tremendous success to the planning team for COPANT and the successes of the General Assembly that was held this year. So in an effort to increase compliance for local entities, BNSI also collaborated with the Barbados Trust Fund Limited, and this was towards the growth of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, who are really the bedrock of our economic activity. So we partnered with the Barbados Trust Fund in business areas of fashion and beauty, condiments, confectionery, and consumables, and wines and beverages. So within their Manufest program, there's a program there called Manufest, and they asked the BNSI to really create a training module for all of the participants with the BTFL, where they could be trained in quality methods, quality tools, quality thinking, a quality management understanding. And the team developed something called Quality Essentials, and it was successfully rolled out to the entire Manufest subscribers, and we had a tremendous response within that program, where small businesses, right down to sole entrepreneurs, better understand the importance of quality on a whole, better understand how to label their products, better understand the need to test and what you're testing for, better understand hygiene practices, where all of the key elements of a quality system, the entrepreneurs, the small businesses are now really building that into their businesses. And that is where we will be competitive. So I applaud you on the successes of your Quality Essentials program. Over the next 3 years, our strategic plans, ably guided by our board of directors and our chairman, will encompass repositioning the institution to really hold a more influential role in the country. We aim to provide guidance for decision-making and strategic initiatives in aligning with the strategies of the Ministry of Energy and Business. We've supported exporters over the last 18 months. We have developed and contributed along with our colleagues from the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. And again, I would like to acknowledge Mrs. Margaret Campbell Leslie, as she's there, the acting director of that department. And we worked on developing for the country a comprehensive metrology act. You would have heard some of that in the news. Metrology speaks to the science of measurement. In Barbados, we will only be competitive if we're seen as a territory which produces accurate measurements, for which trade has no uncertainty. All of the risk associated with errors and that type of poor management will be mitigated with the implementation of this comprehensive Barbados Metrology Act. We successfully had an engagement. It's an initiative called From Pounds to Kilograms. Now, if I were to stand here and tell you my weight in pounds, and I told you that I was 205 pounds, you might appreciate that, right? If I ask you what's my weight in kilograms, for all the money in my pocket, no hands, no takers. It's a shift. We haven't been cultured in the international system of units, which is the SI units. So from pounds to kilograms, from inches to centimeters and meters. Why is this important? Now, the international community has deemed the SI units for measurement as the international system of measurement. Are we going to be international players in a global community? The only way to do that is to play by the game that the international community is playing. What will it take? It will take us to, again, this culture of quality. We have to retrain. PS from as low as primary. Now, my son understands meters like this, kilograms like this. He would say, Dad, 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds, right? I said, yeah, that's right, son. And he would do a quick calculation. So he speaks already in the international system. We need to transcend to this. We may not see it as important because we've seen, traditionally, we're comfortable with this. We go up to oysters. Perhaps I need not talk about fish at the moment. That might be a little tricky. So let's leave that. And the PS agrees. He's just saying, no, here, don't use the thing. But we need to join an international conversation for trade. If one of our tradesmen, one of our vendors gets a large order to supply 450 kilograms of his or her produce per week, and they have no notion of how much is that, what does that mean? How can I measure that with my scale that only reads pounds? The next response is, I can't fulfill that order. I can't meet those requirements. We need to bring our society to where we're understanding the language of the international measurement. And that's what the hard work of Margaret, the whole committee for the Metrology Act has done. The act is about to be enacted. It is very, very soon going to be part of our legislation, and I look forward to it. Why? Because it's not just compliance. It is one of the tools that would help to build this quality culture that we keep begging for in Barbados. And we're getting there, This week we have a lot planned. We have open engagements with the public. We have segments on CBC and VOB with brass tacks and so on, really trying to get this conversation to the public so that the understanding of the journey of a quality program and what it means to every Barbadian to join us, BNSI, join the Ministry of Energy and Business, as we make quality part of our strategy. At the moment, our country is developing an economic strategy. Now, a pillar of that strategy to be successful, PS, will be, and Chair, quality. Quality has to be a pillar of our economic strategy for competitiveness. It has to be. Why? Because we're a small territory. We have high imports. We have a high labor cost. So your starting point for your goods and your services, your starting point is relatively high in Barbados, not so? So how then can you compete? Why choose a Barbadian good or service if it is so costly? Quality. If people perceive that they're getting not just value for money, more than value for money with our goods, with our services. When we say that we send a container that's 1,000 kilograms of sugar, of produce, it is 1,000 kilograms. Right down to the level of when I purchase food from the supermarket made by local manufacturers, I should be getting what I'm paying for. The quality need not to be in question. Agreed? And that's the only way for us to be competitive as a society. Recently, very recently, the team worked, I think it was for more than 18 months, on a standard which speaks to climate resilience in construction of homes. And that standard was completed at the regional level, Mohan, just recently. 2023 perhaps is, I don't know the month, but very recently. And we were able to make recommendations coming out of that standard for the construction of homes to the government of Barbados and the cabinet to embrace that as a document that we will follow because it was a requirement from an international loan through the IADB. So they're saying, yes, we would lend you this money to forward these national projects. However, as a country, you must show me that you're including climate resilience as part of your building strategy. And standards came to the solution table for that. Tremendous success. Without that type of support, we would not have met the condition for the loan and been unable to further our capital works program as far as the funding is concerned, at least in that area. Tremendous support. Tremendous support. Now, there's been a lot of debate about the next initiative that I'm going to speak about. And this is where BNSI, we were instrumental in the revision of one of the CARICOM regional organization standards, and this is for the labeling of prepackaged foods. Now, Margaret is smiling, saying, Hayden, you're going there? Yes. So we've always had this standard. When I say always, 4 years. There's a labeling standard. What does that mean? That means that if you're making a product, you have to satisfy the requirements of the labeling standard. We are Barbadians. Guess what language it has to be in to be sold here? Guess. English has to be there. The font size has to be a certain minimum and no smaller. Margaret would tell you is 1.6 millimeters according to the lowercase o in the alphabet. It's that detailed. Expiration dates, manufacture dates, all of the information that you need to ensure that the quality and integrity of your product is included on the label. So that's being revised. This year, a key component, and it's a comprehensive strategy to really improve the availability and the access to healthier lifestyles, where people have a more informed choice, Nicole, as they are purchasing their products. Wouldn't you like to know if certain products are high in salt or low for your health? Yes or no? Yes. What about sugar? Same thing. Fat, trans fats, of course. A healthier society, a more productive society. Do you know that studies indicate that if we're successful in this initiative, which we will be, $74 million a year, Chairman, in the healthcare costs that we're treating for diabetes, hypertension, strokes, kidney failures. We can reduce that bill, because it's a bill to our state. So it's not just lives, which is very, very important. We're talking about the economic downfall of having an unhealthy society. So here we are in a position where we can make a difference. And we're saying one of the tools is to allow people to have a more informed choice, where you've heard about this front of pack labeling. They call it FOPL, front of package labeling, where I can go into a supermarket, marketplace, store, and if I see this mark on the front of the label, I know that it's high in whatever, high in salt, high in sugar, and it says it. Now, that's been introduced into this revision for the first time. And we're looking forward to when the debates are given the consensus process, because remember, BNSI, we manage how standards are developed through consensus. All right, it has to be consensus, they have to be impartial. We have to be accountable to the key stakeholders within the process, all of them. And that's what we're doing. And we're looking forward to that result. We're looking forward to how Barbados as a country gets the next step, which is implementation. And I'm not just talking about the standards. Standards by nature are voluntary instruments. But I'm talking about how does our country position this whole labeling discourse for the benefit of Barbados and not to the detriment of trade. And I'm sure that the technocrats within their discussions will land on what that looks like for Barbados. And I'm looking forward to it. And we eagerly participate in that process as well. And that's something that all of us should support. A healthier Barbadian society. Agreed? Agreed. Lovely. All right. I may have spent my time, I was going to speak a little bit about certification and the work that we've done there. Michelle at the back is telling me don't do it. We are also members of the Barbados Food Science Council. We applaud the work that Mark Hill and his team are doing with Export Barbados and this new Food Science Center, where small entrepreneurs can now come together and have the support of machinery and help with their exports. It's a tremendous thing. We're helping with the certification of that center, which we're hopeful will be a soon win, not just for BNSI, but for Barbados as well. I won't go into the finances. We have our senior accountant here, and she will give a little detail, but every area of revenue for the BNSI from 2020, Chair, every revenue generating area has been on the steady increase for the BNSI from 2020. So we've quadrupled our membership, Trevor. We have, increased in our certification requests. We've increased significantly with the laboratory, but I will allow the finance person, as she's looking at me with disdain, I will not steal her thunder. So lastly, and I'll leave with this, P.S., we are looking forward to something called a post-Cotonou project. And that project, we've been invited to participate in that project as a quality institution. That project has 4.8 million euros available to the Caribbean region. And we've already started to make our interest known through CrossQ that Barbados, yes, would like to participate in being a part of this project. Huge project, main objectives to fight against the devastating effects of climate change. And we've also had our sight on advancing the economic transformation of Barbados through participating in this project. Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps later I will get to engage with you even more on any of what I've said or all of it, but I thank you for your time, and I look forward to having the other speakers give their presentations. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan, for that very in-depth and detailed director's report. I think most of us can agree that to some extent, metrology is not a very well understood discipline. I think it's taken for granted. If you think about aspects of our daily lives, we get into our cars every morning and we stick the key in. Well, those who still have a stick the key in. Some of us have a push button, yeah? But all of those mechanisms have to go through a quality assurance testing and procedures, and it speaks to the level of quality that we as a national nation have to adhere to, or at least aspire to ensure that we can make our presence felt on the international stage. So thank you for that, Mr. Ryan. I will continue the proceedings this morning. And before I do that, I would like to again recognize the presence of the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Kevin Hunt of the Ministry of Energy. But I will turn over the proceedings to our Chairman, Mr. Ryan Braffett, to give the Chairman's report. Mr. Braffett, please.
Mr. Kevin Hunt, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Business. Mr. Hayden Ryan, Acting Director, Barbados National Standards Institution. Mr. Mohan Nandwani, Finance Manager of CrossQ. Board of Directors of the BNSI, management and staff of the BNSI, hardworking management and staff of the BNSI, government officials and representatives from other quality institutions, captains of industry, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is indeed a profound honor to stand before you today as the chairman of the Barbados National Standards Institution on the occasion of the organization's 50th anniversary, otherwise known as the Golden Jubilee. This milestone represents not only a moment to celebrate our past achievements, but also an opportunity to reflect on our journey and chart the course for our future endeavors. 50 years ago, the vision came together with a common goal, which was to establish a body that would set the standards for excellence, innovation, and safety as Barbados began its late industrial revolution. Little did we know that that vision would evolve into an organization that would play a vital role in shaping the landscape of our nation's industries, technologies, and competitiveness. The BNSI's journey over the last 5 decades has been one of continuous growth, adaptation, and progress. Today, I want to take you on a brief journey through the key phases of our organization's development, highlighting the pivotal moments that have defined us. And as I go into the foundation and early years of the institution, I reflect on my conversation yesterday with Trevor Thorpe, and I made a light joke with him that 50 years ago, I was not even thought of. And I'm sure some of us in here were not either. But I want to take this opportunity to thank the government of Barbados for giving me the opportunity at 30 years old to be the chairman of this institution. At the time, it was a little daunting, and having to rub shoulders with so many distinguished other members of the board, being the youngest member at that time, I just want to say, even as I reflect on the last 4 years, that we have indeed achieved a lot. And I want you to give the institution a round of applause this morning. Good. Foundation and early years. In the early 1970s, as our nation was witnessing significant technological advancements due to its late industrial revolution, there was a pressing need to ensure that these innovations were safe, reliable, and aligned with international best practices. It was during this period that our national standards body, the BNSI, was established, laying the foundation for our journey. The BNSI's initial focus was on creating standards for essential industries at the time, such as food and beverage manufacturing, food handling and food safety, packaging and labeling, garment manufacturing and textiles, office furniture and ergonomics, the import-export trade of goods, the sugar industry and its derivative products such as rum, construction materials, chemicals production, industrial safety, and much more. These standards not only improved product quality, but also enhanced safety and facilitated trade both domestically and globally. We collaborated with experts from various fields to develop a comprehensive framework that would guide our nation's progress. However, it was quickly realized that to ensure the implementation and compliance of these standards, we needed to encompass the broader framework of quality infrastructure. This included other vital pillars such as testing, inspection, certification, metrology, and accreditation. Certification. Our journey in certification began with the need to validate that products, processes, and systems adhere to our standards. By establishing certification programs, we ensured that businesses and consumers could trust that our products were safe, reliable, and met the highest quality standards. Certification has become a badge of honor for organizations, a symbol of commitment to quality and excellence for those businesses that carry our mark. And I remember during COVID, we had the safety verification mark and being part of the ceremony at courts, which was, again, another milestone for the organization. Metrology. In the realm of metrology, our organization recognized the importance of precise and consistent measurements. We established national metrology standards to ensure that measurements were accurate and traceable, forming the backbone of our nation's industrial endeavors. Metrology has played a pivotal role in fostering innovation, competitiveness, and consumer protection, as can be seen in the verification of the petroleum volume delivered at the pump. Testing and inspection. Testing and inspection are the pillars upon which quality assurance is built. Our journey led us to develop rigorous testing and inspection protocols that guarantee the safety and reliability of our products and services. This is well known in our construction industry and is a testament to the safety of our buildings when compared to some of our Caribbean neighbors. These protocols have safeguarded the society and bolstered our industry's ability to access foreign markets. Accreditation. Accreditation became a crucial component of our quality infrastructure, ensuring that certification bodies, testing laboratories, and inspection agencies met the highest standards of competence and impartiality. This not only enhanced the credibility of our certifications, but also facilitated international recognition, trade and business from overseas, as illustrated by some of the accredited clinical laboratories the BNSI has supported to reach that milestone. The era of globalization. As our world became increasingly interconnected, the BNSI played a pivotal role in harmonizing our national standards, certification procedures, metrological practices, testing, and inspection methodologies with international counterparts. We recognize that in an era of globalization, our standards needed to be interoperable and recognized worldwide. This led to an era of close collaboration with international standards organizations, enabling our industries to compete on a global stage. We further developed capacity with the institution to establish, lead, and participate in the development and harmonization of regional pillars of quality through the establishment of the now CROSSQ, which resides in Boab Towers in Warrens. CROSSQ coordinates development and harmonization of CARICOM regional standards to the national standards bodies such as the BNSI. This regional effort was actualized to ensure that Barbadian goods and services can compete within our Caribbean community and be able to be exported to our regional neighbors. Technological revolution. The turn of the century brought about a technological revolution that reshaped industries and societies. The BNSI had to adapt quickly to keep pace with these changes. We embrace emerging fields such as information and communication technology, renewable energy technology, tourism management, quality management practices for small and medium enterprises, botanical cosmetics, indigenous furniture, spices and sauces, and energy efficiency of household appliances and products. Which is, of course, we know these products would be like refrigerators, compact fluorescent lights, like emission diodes, LEDs, which we all know as LEDs. And these are both from vehicle exhaust and for those in office-type accommodation. And most significantly, the introduction of international system of units, which we heard Hayden, our acting director, speak about. Moving Barbados from the old imperial measurement system to the global metric system. And although this is still a work in transition, our standards ensured that innovation could flourish while maintaining the highest levels of safety and quality. Advocating sustainability. In recent years, our commitment to sustainability has become a central pillar of our organization. As we face global challenges such as climate change and resource scarcity, our standards, certification, metrology, testing and inspection, and accreditation have evolved to promote environmentally responsible practices. We have championed green and blue technologies, energy efficiency, and sustainable manufacturing, ensuring that our nation remains at the forefront of the sustainability movement. We go on to challenges and achievements. Of course, our journey has not been without its challenges, Hayden. We know this. We have faced debates, revisions, and criticisms along the way. However, it is through these challenges that our quality infrastructure has grown stronger, more inclusive, and more adaptable. We have always remained committed to transparency, consensus building, and openness, principles that have guided our standards development processes. Throughout these 50 years, we have achieved remarkable milestones. I repeat, throughout these 50 years, we have achieved remarkable milestones. Our standards and quality infrastructure have saved lives, protected the environment, fostered innovation, and boosted economic growth. They have become trusted benchmarks that individuals, industries, and governments rely on daily. And now we look to the road ahead. As we celebrate our past, we must also look to the future, as illustrated by our theme, Pioneering Quality 50 Years Forward. The next 50 years will undoubtedly bring new challenges and opportunities. The rapid advancement of artificial intelligence, the digitization of industries, and the imperative of addressing global sustainability issues will shape our agenda. We must continue to evolve and adapt, remaining at the forefront of technological innovation within the pillars of standardization, certification, metrology, testing, inspection, and accreditation. We should further enhance our collaboration with international partners to ensure the compatibility and recognition of our quality infrastructure worldwide. Embracing diversity and inclusivity will be key as we strive to represent the varied interests and needs in our society. In conclusion, the BNSI's journey over the last 50 years is a testament to the power of collaboration, innovation, and commitment to excellence. We have not only shaped industries, but we have contributed to the betterment of society and the world at large. As we stand on the precipice of the next 50 years, let us do so with optimism, determination, and a renewed sense of purpose. I want to express and sincerely express my gratitude to the visionaries who founded and led this organization, to the dedicated professionals who work tirelessly every day to develop our standards, provide testing, inspection, and metrology services. Those who perform certification activities and accreditation to support all stakeholders who have supported our mission. Together, we will continue to raise the bar for excellence as we take our services, our products to the world at large. Thank you for being a part of this incredible journey. And here's to the next 50 years, which I hope to be here for. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Braffett, for those remarks and the chairman's report. I would like to agree with you. I would like to be here for the next 50 years, but you know, we never know what the Lord above has above for us. So I would like to commend the BNSI. I am a fledgling here. I've just been here about 16 months now, yeah, about that. And I have also recognized significant change over the last year and a half from when I entered to what is available now. I think before I turn over to the permanent secretary, Mr. Ryan, we should probably engage in an initiative where we have like a storyboard on our website and bring context, visual context to where BNSI was 50 years ago and where it is now, as well as where it plans to be. All right, that also encompasses youth engagement and presence on social media and such like. It will give an overarching platform for persons to see, you know, what we are doing here and the importance of it. So with that said, I would like to now invite the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Energy and Business, Mr. Kevin Hunt, to give his remarks and reports on BNSI's 50th Visibility Conference. Mr. Hunt, the floor is yours, sir.
Good morning. Let me begin by first of all apologizing for the late start on behalf of Minister Lisa Cummins. She was unavoidably detained at another event, and so I have been asked to fill her shoes, and I find it quite interesting to fill her shoes, but I don't think I will look good in heels. but I will do my best, nevertheless, to represent the Ministry of Energy and Business this morning. She is not here, but the Honorable Ms. Sandra Husbands is to be here, but she's also at another event this morning, so I also extend apologies for her absence, but she is due to come as soon as she can. So let me begin. Mr. Ryan Brathwaite, immediate past chairman of the Barbados National Standards Institution. I don't even know what adjective to put before Hayden, but Mr. Hayden Ryan, acting director, Barbados National Service Standard Institution. And the reason why I say I don't know what adjective is because Hayden is a ball of energy. He is always moving, always ready, and it certainly has been a pleasure to work with him over the years. Mr. Mohan Nendwani, finance manager, CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality, CROSSQ. Board of Directors of the BNSI, management and staff of the BNSI, government officials and representatives from other quality institutions, those of you viewing online, captains of the industry, specially invited guests, of course, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, again, I bid you good morning. And thank you for joining us today as we celebrate such a significant milestone as we've been hearing so far all morning. Indeed, as they would say, 50 years is not 50 days. And this accomplishment of BNSI is one that is to be celebrated now and indeed well into the future. And so as we gather here at this visibility conference under the theme, Pioneering Quality, 50 Years Forward, I'm honored to stand before you to represent the Minister of Energy and Business, the Senator, the Honorable Lisa Cummins of the Ministry of Energy and Business, and extend her and the ministry's heartfelt congratulations to the BNSA on reaching such a remarkable juncture. This conference, this pause, this reflection on accomplishment and achievements provides us with an exceptional opportunity to reflect on journey, yes, and as we heard, contemplate future trajectory. It is a journey, clearly, as we've heard, that has been marked with resilience, innovation, determination, commitment, and unwavering dedication to the cause of standards and quality assurance in our beloved nation of Barbados. Since its establishment when I was -3 in 1973, the BNSI has been a beacon of excellence in Barbados. This institution has played an instrumental role in shaping our nation's industrial landscape, facilitating trade, and ensuring that Barbados remains a trusted provider of high-quality goods and services, not only locally or regionally, but also internationally. It has set the bar high, and the impact resonates far beyond our shores. This theme of pioneering quality 50 years forward underscores the need for us to recognize the BNSI's and by extension, this nation's pioneering spirit. The institution has consistently led the way in advocating for and implementing international standards that ensure the quality, safety, and sustainability of our products and services, and might I dare add, ensuring that we have a good reputation. It has been a source of guidance and inspiration for industries across the landscape of our nation. If we are honest and we take a good look at where we are now and where we have to go as a nation, quality is and must become the cornerstone of any thriving economy. It is a testament to our commitment to excellence and our dedication to meeting the ever-evolving needs and expectations of our customers, whether locally, regionally, or internationally. In today's globalized world where competition is fierce, and to put it in Bajan rough, adherence to international standards and the pursuit of quality is not a choice, but indeed a necessity. It is the very essence of our competitive edge. In the sphere of energy, for example, the Ministry of Energy and Business is fully committed to collaborating with the BNSI to develop and implement energy standards that promote sustainability, efficiency, and the transition to renewable energy sources and resources. Our energy landscape is ever evolving, and standards are vital to ensuring the safety and effectiveness of these changes and innovations. In the realm of business, we understand that quality assurance should not be just seen as a regulatory requirement or a noose around persons' necks, but actually is a driver of economic growth. The ministry is dedicated to supporting initiatives that foster a culture of quality and innovation and entrepreneurship among our business community. So as we gather here this morning to celebrate the BNSI's achievements, let's also acknowledge again, as we heard, the work of its board of directors, management, and staff, both past and present. And I want to add, let us celebrate in futuro the work of management and staff to come. Because in looking forward, clearly BNSI has laid down a legacy of hard work, commitment, and dedication. We extend as a ministry our gratitude to you and the work that you've done. We extend gratitude to our industry partners, stakeholders, and international collaborators for their unwavering support in advancing the standards agenda in Barbados. Permit me to pause and re-emphasize the critical role that BNSI plays in Barbados' national transformation, in stimulating economic growth, and in offering quality solutions to the economic challenges that our nation faces. The BNSI, over the years, has been instrumental in developing and implementing national standards and contributing to the quality that Barbados holds dear. In the business side of the ministry, one of the things that we are working towards, and I would indeed need the support of BNSI in implementing, is taking our businesses just from the startup phase, moving our businesses along in their growth, and positioning them in such a way that those businesses then seek to export their services and or their goods. One of the hallmarks in ensuring successful exportation of goods and services must be quality. And therefore, we celebrate the work of BNSI, and we look forward to future partnership and collaboration with BNSI so that we can stimulate the growth of our businesses in Barbados and let our businesses indeed see that the global stage is theirs to play on. And so, Hayden and your team, we welcome the work that you will do. And so this is a challenge that we at the ministry that we're putting forward, that you look at the developments that are coming globally and you join us in being trendsetters in setting the stage for quality. I also want to take opportunity, and not to steal your thunder, but we did tour your lab facilities, and I look forward to that presentation because that is a testament as to the work that BNSI has done. And indeed, the lab serves as potential for significant work, not only locally, regionally, but again, I challenge you, internationally. I think that our lab stands on being on the threshold of being something truly remarkable and profound. And so as I come to a close, again, on behalf of the minister and on behalf of the Ministry of Energy and Business, please accept our heartfelt and sincere congratulations for all the work you've done, starting from those 3 persons without certain facilities, and now you're located in many different areas or various locations in the island with a lab and with further work to do. Indeed, on behalf of Minister Cummins and the ministry, we say thank you, and we look forward to our future collaboration and partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
All right, any cricket fans in the audience? Yeah, yeah, definitely was six sixes there. But as we move through the ceremony proceedings, let me pause and recognize the presence of our minister husbands. Honorable Minister.
Hi, good morning to everyone.
Thank you for joining us. So as I was stating, we are 2 overs into this innings. 12 balls bowled, and we are 25 runs. So we are halfway through the proceedings. And as we continue, I would like to invite Miss Latoya Burkham. Is she here? Yes. Latoya, a representative of the Cross-Skew delegation, will assist us in the presentation of the staff awards this morning. So apparently, I seem to be getting an award. I'm not sure for what, so I cannot partake in the award ceremony. So Latoya will be conducting these handouts on our behalf. Latoya, please grace us with your presence and your beauty. How are you doing? All right.
The photographers want to use this as the background, so they want me to slide the podium more that way.
Okay.
Is that possible? We're just making a few edits to the positioning of the podium so that the photographers can use the background here. So good morning to all. Welcome, Senator Husbands. So we're going to make 3 sets of presentations this morning to staff to recognize them for the work that they have been doing, the work that they continue to do on behalf of the BNSI. And for the first set of presentations, I'm actually going to ask the chairman, Mr. Ryan Brathwaite, to join me for these first sets of presentations. And the facilitators of the trophies, I think it keeps dropping. I'm short, Hayden. Thank you. Okay. All right. So the first presentation goes to Mr. Vincent Giles, and it's a service award for messenger services.
Just be patient, the camera's rolling, you know, just like this. Thank you, sir.
The next 2 awards are for cleaning services during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm going to invite Miss Luciana Moyes-Boyce and Miss Pauline Grosvenor.
Chairman, for my sake, could you shake the lady in the center stands, but just shake the hand of the wall. Please, please, ma'am, take the same position you have. That's for my sake. All right, fine, that's fine. Thank you.
These next 4 awards are appreciation awards. The BNSI Appreciation Award goes to Vanessa Mason. The next award goes to Michelle Rudder Durant. The third award, Tamika Cadogan, Miss Tamika Cadogan. And as I mentioned, these are BNSI Appreciation Awards. And the final award to be presented by the chairman goes to Mr. Damien Prescott. So he now finds out why he could not present the awards. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am going to invite the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Energy and Business, Mr. Kevin Hunt, to present the next set of awards. And these are long service awards. The first award goes to Miss Alicia Maloney for BNSI services over the last 16 years. Congrats, Alicia.
So we haven't seen one another in a long time, and we're all schoolmates.
Is Mr. Anderson Harris here? Still not yet? Okay. Mr. Anderson Harris has also been recognized for 16 years of service. The BNSI Service Award for 19 years of service goes to Mr. Jonathan Platt. And now we are into 20 plus years. Mr. Tyrone Canterbury for 21 years of service.
Thank you.
Mrs. Renata Lynn Seeley, also for 21 years of service. Then they would have employed you as a child.
Came at 6.
21 years of service also to Miss Rochelle Bourne. And the final award I'm going to ask Mr. Hunt to present goes to Miss Angela Ward for 22 years of service. Thank you very much, PS. I am going to ask Senator the Honorable Sandra Husbands to help me present the last few awards. And of course, Senator Husbands is the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Business, Minister Sandra Husbands. And these awards are also for long service as well as special awards. The BNSI Service Award for 22 years of service, Miss Susan Yard. Is Mrs. Cheryl Lewis here? No. Mrs. Cheryl Lewis is also being recognized for 23 years of service in her absence. The award for 35 years of service, Mr. Carson Rollins. And these last three are the very, very, very special three. The BNSI Employee Achievement for Excellent Support to Testing Laboratories, Mr. Keith Best. He is.
Keith is our national treasure.
When the BNSI relaunched its laboratory recently, Mr. Best was the one taking everyone through what everything is, how it works. He is a national treasure. The BNSI Employee Achievement Award for the development of the national quality infrastructure, Mr. Fabian Scott. And the final award, Minister, goes to Mrs. Kira Cave for the Employee Achievement for the Development of the Finance Department. Thank you very much, Minister. And those, ladies and gentlemen, are the awardees for the BNSI.
Congratulations once again to all awardees. I would also like to, before we take a break and the umpire pulls stumps, recognize the presence of the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs, Commerce and Consumer Affairs, Mr. Bertram in the back, or in the back. So we're going to take a short intermission. We were running a bit behind time, but I think we are on course to finish at our scheduled period. So we will break and we will resume. The time now is 11. We were supposed to break at 10:45. So we will break for 15 minutes and we shall reconvene sharply at 11:15, please. Thank you. refreshments on the outside, on the terrace, if you're interested. So you just pass through the lobby. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope you are refreshed and re-energized. Thankfully, there were no observations of any lethargic behavior in the first innings. And I would like to expect similar in the second. We are 25 for 4 with 6 remaining batsmen and 2 overs, so we gotta move along at a pretty quick click. All right, so long as our helmets and bats and paddings and jock straps are all fit, we're gonna move on. Yeah, we're gonna move on. So we're gonna have a series of visual reports on activity at the BNSI, standards related, laboratory, modernization, metrology, accounts, as well as information and HR. And we're going to start the round of presentations by our Chief Technical Officer for specifications of standards and development, Mr. Fabian Scott. I would like to invite you to the podium. And Kira is saying 10 minutes. So without any extensive bios, like we had at Copant, come forth. But I will let the audience know, Fabian, that you are a very, very accomplished individual. Yes, with lots of accreditations and certifications and what have you. Mr. Scott, please.
Good morning, BNSI members, staff and colleagues, especially invited guests. Good morning. I've been allotted 15 minutes to conduct my presentation. It shouldn't take that long, but my colleagues are harassing me and telling me, take 10 minutes, take 10 minutes. So I will try to do that, to finish early. Of course, my name is Fabian Scott. I head the Standards Development, Quality Control and Certification Department. Long title, and I will go through the report for the activities for the fiscal year 2022-23. Just like how we develop and work in a spirit of transparency, here is the clock. It says 15 minutes right there. So I am going to start it. And when it beeps, I'll just stop and we will conclude on this. So just an outline, we'll talk about the standards activity for 2022-23. We'll look at all the things under my department, which is standards, quality, and certification. And then any other projects that we would have worked on in the period under consideration. So how do we work? Our standardization footprint actually is pretty broad. You would have heard the chairman talk about how we want to have our standards accepted globally, and we do that. We worked in these different levels. At the national level, we don't do a lot of work here unless we have a specific request from a stakeholder to develop a national standard. We tend to take our expertise to the regional level where we have a common standard among the CARICOM countries, that where our stakeholders can use the benefit of that to trade across borders and expand their markets, and at the international level so that we defend the ability of our stakeholders to be able to manufacture, assemble, or provide services at an international level, competing so that, we are there and we are not disadvantaged. So here you see the flags of the Caribbean countries. So at the international level, it's ISO, IEC. We develop food standards at at Codex. COPAT is the regional level. The director mentioned we had that AGM for 2023 in April here this year. And we are the national standards body for Barbados. So who are our stakeholders? Who do we work with? It's actually you. You, the consumer, you, the business person, whether you are government or society, we need you to help us do our work. Stakeholders both contribute and help develop standards. We need to get information from you because you are the user, you are the expert in the field for which you have been trained. We are not those experts. Our expertise is simply bringing all of these resources and skills together, managing that process, and having an output, being a standard or document, that people can then use as a public good for the betterment of our society. So these committees generally tend to be balanced, and as you see the stakeholder grouping here, we try to have it as balanced as possible. It's all voluntary. There's no payment for this. People do this because they understand they want to be market leaders in the particular field or subject for which we are developing a standard or international standard, because we do have some committee members here who function as Barbados's experts at the international level in some of the ISO committees, and we thank you for that sacrifice. So this is where we work with in terms of our stakeholders. In terms of our standards projects for, and when I say project, these are actual standards or documents. We call each document a project because it has a definite start date, a definite end date. And I'm sorry that the percentage came out, but this is what we would have worked on. There are a number of new work items that would have come on board. Some of them would have been progressed to what we call work in progress documents. Some have been complete during the period, and then some have been published. And so this pie chart here represents what you see in terms of the period for which we would have had new work items, stuff going on, stuff we actually completed as standards being completed by the committee, and then those that were published as Barbados national standards. So if you wanted to know what those were, you see a list here of about 13, I believe, for 2022 that were completed. You will notice a lot of them are regional because, as I said, that's where we tend to focus our work on a regional basis so that our stakeholders and our businesses can have access to a complete CARICOM market of over 10.5 million people. Don't just think of the 300,000 we have here. It's 10.5 million in CARICOM, right? So some of them are international, and you will notice tourism is there, right, which is the bread and butter of our economic basket, as well as service excellence. We can't have tourism without properly servicing our customers and our clients. So these are the 13 that we would have completed. Now, with respect to what was published and what was completed, I said let me just show you a chart as to what happened. Let's go back 5 years. So in 2018 to 2020, just before COVID came in, you recognize we're on the zero line, and that's because at that point in time, we did not have an established board of directors to give approval. That board came on in 2021, and immediately they got to work. We want to thank you, Chairman, for the wonderful job the board did. At that time, they approved some of the backlog, and you'll notice we published over 40 standards in that year, which is excellent, great. And so we will continue to work on developing a number of standards and have those published. We did have a challenge for 2022, but I can tell you for 2023, in January, we got some published again. You would not have to wait for next year for me to tell you what those are. You can simply go to our website on the World Wide Web at bnsibarbados.org, and if you download our standards catalog for 2023, you will see those that are published for 2023. They're already listed there. So with respect to quality management, we recognize we have an increasing demand for services, quality management services, and we are thinking now that our quality culture, as we spoke about, is beginning now to become ingrained in business persons, and we want it to now trickle down to the individual level, right? So persons recognize the importance of having quality management services. We provided a significant training, I believe, was it to over 150 clients, 160, director is telling me, for the exact number, and that was great. It was under the theme, get certified, get recognized, get global business, and a lot of those businesses came back subsequent for further follow-up support, either to get certified themselves or to do some other objective they wanted, and we want to thank them for that. So we're making progress. There is a follow-up to that again for 2023, but I guess you will hear about it a little later, or you can go on our website or social media to find that. There is this increase in demand, not only for the quality management services, but for certification. This mark here to Barbados standards is our certification mark. Probably needs a bit updating with the modern style, but it is a voluntary program, and the reason why we're having challenges with growing it is because it's voluntary. It's not a mandatory thing where you can force people to do it. It's based on the stakeholders' enlightenment that this particular certification mark can take them somewhere, or it can help them achieve a business objective that they want to use it. So on our end, we probably need to do a little bit more marketing and hand-holding with them, but we do have that quality certification mark, and we are happy with it. As the chairman said, it's a badge of honor. During COVID, as he mentioned, this was back in March of 2022, I want to thank the team who worked with me. We developed a verification scheme. It's very similar to a certification scheme for COVID. At that time, persons were very concerned about going to businesses while COVID had come in. And I think once we started to work in April of 2020, we developed this verification scheme in 3 months, and we launched it, I believe, in July, August. And courts Unicommerce Barbados was the first business to take it on board because they wanted the customers to come back to the store. So basically what it is, the verification scheme sought to give both customers, clients, vendors, and employees that the business had taken measures to control the spread and infection of COVID-19. And indeed they did. Under a number of things, either directives given by the Ministry of Health, international standards by ISO, also directives or guidance from the International Labour Organization. We put those all together in a package and said to the business, do all of these things, and you have a very, very low probability that you can spread COVID during your business operations. And it went pretty well. For 2022, we had one new business who is verified on the mark, okay, and that is Baiko, as you see the logo there. Baiko, the Barbados Ice Cream Company, and its mobilers were verified as being safe business. And as you know, this is alignment with our welcome stamp, which we do have still going on, persons working remotely in Barbados. Once they know this is on, obviously give them some confidence that we are doing things well here in Barbados. So in terms of projects and work of other significance, we continue to help small businesses. When I say small businesses, we're talking about startups, we're talking about micro businesses with 1 or 2 people, small and medium-sized businesses who want to get their product out there in the market, as Damien mentioned about his partner. So those persons come to us for a whole range of services, not just labeling. We do have a label assessment service, and they're quite happy with that, because once the label assessment service is verified, they can actually take their product all through CARICOM. We all have one common standard. There are nuances for different markets, and we can tell them about that when they want to export, for example, to the US market. There are specific sections of the US directive in the Code of Federal Regulations that require them to just make slight little variances, but we will tell them about that. If they need to go in the Canadian market, which is bilingual, both French and English, we will tell them about that. So that's part of our Inquiry Point service, which you will hear about a little later. But we had over 50 of the commercial businesses who are importing products into Barbados wanted to verify that those labels meet the acceptable criteria for import into Barbados. On the entrepreneurial level, it's twice that. So you will be happy to know, Minister, that the thrust and efforts to build this entrepreneurial culture in Barbados is actually taking root. We do see it progressing further and further every year, that a lot of persons are now working for themselves, employing people, and want to get their business off the ground. In the background, you see the LESC as part of the organization that develops building regulations or building standards. Jonathan, and along with other stakeholders, the Ministry of Housing, and so on, they go every year to assess our emergency shelters. And they do a wonderful job. It's a lot of work to run around all of Barbados to check and verify that these shelters are in prime condition, that when there is announced that there is a natural disaster event pending, if you go to an emergency shelter, you can guarantee that these guys have done the work to check that these buildings are pretty safe. Category 1 and other categories. So LESC is categorized as Category 1, and we obviously would work hard with the team to make sure that that is the case. We work closely with TVET as well. While we develop standards for products, processes, and services, the Technical, Vocational, and Educational Training Council, TVET, they develop occupational standards for persons who are doing job-type work. So, but we sit on their approval committee to look at those types of standards for occupations. So we have a close collaboration with them, which is great. And so there's a seamless continuity between standards we put in place for management systems, for businesses, and then the people who need to actually do those functions. One thing we are also proud of, as you heard from Director Ryan, we still perform this job where we actually go to different Caribbean standards bodies and help build capacity there. During that period, myself, as well as the team at CrossQ, we went to the Bahamas Bureau of Standards. They were pretty new, about a year or two having been launched, and we went there to train about 3 or 4 of their standards officers on how do you develop a standards department, how do you develop sales strategy, how do you engage consumers to determine what is the national consensus for how you go about determining priority of standards and so on. So that was great. We spent, I believe it was a week in Bahamas. Mr. Fulgent Saint-Prix of CrossQ and myself, we were there, and we are quite happy that we did a great job with what is now called BBSQ, Bahamas Bureau of Standards, and I think they're well on their way to being a great contributor to our regional standard development process. Other works of significance, we mentioned about food standards. We, as the Codex contact point for Barbados, we facilitate the development of food standards. We do have some expertise in-house, but we don't pretend to be all-knowing. We disseminate this information widely, Ministry of Agriculture, Veterinary Services Unit, fisheries and so on, even the private sector, a food group, there is a group like that we share this information with so that those standards being developed globally, that they don't, again, disadvantage us in terms of how we develop primary produce or food production when we are processing. Coming up for 2024, we are looking to develop an energy efficiency labeling scheme with the help of CrossQ. We do have it in planning now. We are just doing the final things in terms of, we're actually going to test some products. We're going to send them to the Trinidad lab to test the lighting, the LEDs. We're going to send some other stuff to Jamaica, maybe some refrigerators, some ACs to verify that the energy consumption of these devices are what they say they are, and that when we put the label on, we accurately know that they are consuming the correct amount, so that we begin to see and realize the energy savings for which we want to have here in Barbados. So we continue to support the renewable energy transition. We work as part of a technical group, myself and Jonathan and others, sometimes Carson, with the Ministry of Energy, when we look at submissions to that ministry for either grant funding or small loans for installation of PV, wind turbines, energy efficiency measures and devices. We look at the feasibility of these projects, we advise on it, and we also look to make sure that they're quality built with the requisite certification. So you can see the energy label there. This is possibly what it looked like. And you can see in terms of food trade, just a little pictorial of the port. That's not the Barbados port. It looks pretty, but it's not the Barbados port. We continue to give support to water reuse. We're a water scarce country, and this will be the final one, I believe. So we are putting things in place to support the water reuse legislation that is coming by updating our plumbing code so that there is the ability for you as a business, as a householder, to be able to divert water to reuse, either for secondary, tertiary purposes, and that we can have potable water remain as pure and clean as it is, and we're giving support to that. That will come on board pretty soon because the committee is pretty much finished with the technical work. Challenges, priority dislocation. What does that mean? Sounds like two mismatched words that I put together. Well, we do have our plans. We have a work program. It's all established and my time is pretty much up. So what happens is you plan your work and then life happens or business happens. You're asked to do things that you didn't plan for. They take a significant amount of your time, a significant amount of your resources and energy, and that priority tends to dislocate all the other things that you had planned to do. And regrettably, because of a number of different things, you know, we have a small staff, and because ICT is also a challenge, it sort of delays us in being able to meet all of the timeline targets that we have. But these are part of the challenges that we have. And standardization is ultra dynamic. Just like business, it changes every year, every month. My staff will be tired. They're tired of training because they're training all the time, which is good. But, you know, for them, sometimes it can be a bugbear. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. And this will conclude our standardization report.
As we wish the Honorable Minister goodbye, we will move on in the proceedings to the financial report from our senior accountant at BNSI, Ms. Kira Cave. And I want to commend Mr. Scott on turning over his innings quite quickly. Not the norm. A couple ones on twos and a little 1-4 there at the end. Kira, please join me at the podium. Ms. Kira Cave, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for celebrating with us this wonderful day. My name is Kira Cave, as stated before, and I am the senior accountant in the Finance Department at BNSA. Okay, so I will start because the presentation is not. So I would just give a little context before my, it's not here, going back. Too far back, anyhow. So the Barbados National Standards is a public-private partnership established under the Companies Act. It is considered a state-owned enterprise, and the government funds approximately 93% of its operations. My slide has gone forward a bit, so I would just get to there. I pressed back already, but anything back. Working. All right, so here on the screen is our services that we offer at the BNSA. It's soils and aggregate testing, compression testing of the concrete blocks, cores, cubes, and cylinders, calibration of masses and temperature devices, the certification of products and services, quality management services, consulting and training, and product label assessments. And this day, I'm giving anybody that wants 2% off of our services. 2%, whopping 2%. All right, so with the revenue. So with the expansion of the services in the Soils and Materials Lab and the introduction of the new services in the Scientific Metrology Department, which are the food and beverages and the agri-food, the medical sector and the construction, there was a steady increase as seen here in the revenue generated for the BNSA for the period 2022 and 2023, sorry. And with my projections, I anticipate that the same steady increase over the next years will happen. In addition, our membership base has increased by a whopping 140%, and we're looking to further increase that. As you can imagine, we would also expect our expenses to increase in tandem with our revenue. The BNSA has spent significant funds on procuring new lab equipment, and there's much more on the way. In addition to this expense, we have the maintenance of the existing equipment, as well as the upkeep of our new ones. Another of our main obligations are the yearly subscriptions, which are 5 of the international and regional affiliates. And we keep these up to date, and we maintain a close relationship with them. All right, so in conclusion, not forgetting my 2%, based on the revenues and expenditures, we can expect another successful year of growth and productivity at the BNSA. And I just want to thank everybody for helping us get to where we are today, and don't forget my 2%. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Kira has just increased the run weight. One ball, one large 6 over the top, over cover. So next we're going to introduce our human resource manager, Miss Angela Ward, to give a report on the BNSA's human resource strategy. Ms. Ward?
Good morning, everybody. I am pleased to give this short presentation on human resource strategy. The Barbados National Standards Institution has grown tremendously over the years. The Human Resource Department remains focused on ensuring that the policies and procedures of the company are held to a level that we take pride in. A human resource strategy is an organized set of HR methods designed to support high-performance work and promote the company's overall vision, mission, goals, and objectives. It addresses all essential areas of human resources, including searching for and training employees, organizing benefits, appraising performance, and providing development opportunities. Human resource strategies are designed to improve transparency and govern workplace behaviors. When a standard is created that employees can easily assess and compare their performance to. Accountability is raised and overall productivity improves. 3 crucial elements successful HR strategies focus on are: 1, have something. What skills, competencies, and abilities can employees offer? 2, feel something. What level of commitment, engagement, and motivation do our people demonstrate? And 3, do something. How do our people demonstrate productivity? This approach requires human resource input, joint policy creation, and elevates the importance of recruitment, screening, compensations, interviews, and hiring. In the Human Resource Department at BNSI, we encourage our employees to adjust to new conditions, to be flexible in the face of change and uncertainty, and to open to new ideas and concepts. The willingness to let go of old practices that no longer serve the organization. Our vision: to build an innovative work culture that drives achievement through trust, where all staff are aware of the role played by the organization. It is the mission of Human Resource to create a value and knowledge-based organization through education by producing a culture of learning, innovation, and teamwork. Research through our accessible electronic library, and discovery by developing and implementing policies, programs, and services that leads to development of highly talented, caring, and committed employees. Our strategic goal: make effective communication a vital strategy for the entire organization, to foster a culture of openness and trust, and address issues before they escalate. Training must be a continuous and ongoing practice for everyone in the organization. Our strategy plan: developing and attracting various levels of engagement and involvement programs for our employees. Provide resources and avenues to facilitate the ability of knowledge. Effective systems for policies and procedures. Providing workshops to encourage employees to be adaptable to change. In conclusion, including strategic human resource management in the overall business strategy not only helps with creating a productive environment, but it also helps with other crucial aspects, such as retaining employees. If the Human Resource Department succeeds in creating an effective strategy, it brings value to the organization. Employees are the most important asset of any organization. The quality and effectiveness of the organization is determined by the quality of the people that are employed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward, and I can corroborate her assessment and assertions that the BNSI is a very comfortable place to work in and with. Staff are friendly and accommodating, and I speak from my short tenure there since last year, so I would like to commend the welcome that we received, myself, Michelle, and some of the other staff that would have came on in the last year, like Tamika. I can speak to that. It was one of the most welcoming environments I have ever gone into as an organization, truth be told. Next on the agenda Next on the agenda, we'll probably enter into some more exciting visual descriptions of the laboratory work. So you will have Ms. Lynn Seeley, Project Coordinator of the BNSI Laboratory Modernization Project, and she's going to give a report on that aspect. Ms. Seeley, please join myself as we lower the presentation. He's working on it, he's loading it now.
Apologies, folks. Just give me a second. Seems we're just working on loading the presentation, because Damien is correct. I do have some exciting visuals, so I need for it to be up and running before I start. All right, wonderful. Well, good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us to celebrate. My name is Renata Lynn Seeley, and I am the project coordinator for the BNSI Laboratory Modernization Project. This afternoon, I'd like to give you a brief update on what we've been doing in the lab over the past year or so. The BNSI Laboratory Modernization Project is a 3-year project during which we have been and will continue renovating, repairing, upgrading, updating, and further improving the BNSI laboratory services, the facilities, the equipment, and building capacity within the laboratory with our lab staff. Technical difficulties, excuse me. Can we Beautiful. In 2002, October actually, when I would have first started working at the BNSI, somebody did some wonky math earlier talking about 20 years. I don't know what that's all about. But when I would have first started, it would have been in the chemistry laboratory. And the building at the time would have looked pretty much like that and stayed like that until the end of 2021. And this is when phase 1 of the modernization project would have addressed the renovations and repairs to this building. And in March of 2022, we would have officially launched the new BNSI lab services. This is beautiful, and I have to show this transformation every time because it is something that is still so very exciting and personally rewarding for me. In the BNSI lab services, we have 2 main departments. The metrology laboratory, which my colleague Damien will speak to you about, and the soils and materials testing lab. And that's what I am going to focus on in my presentation. So as part of our regular operations, we maintain and upgrade the existing equipment that we have at the lab. Our machines work very, very hard, so we need to give them some TLC. Earlier this year, we would have brought in technicians to perform maintenance on the compression testing machines to ensure that they are properly calibrated and performing optimally. These are the backbone of the BNSI laboratory. The compression testing machines are pretty much always working every day. We have 2 compression testing machines. The second one, our newer machine, as mentioned by Mohan earlier, we actually would have received during phase 1 of the modernization project with a little help from our friends at CDB and CrossQ. This year, we have also been focusing a lot on purchasing new equipment. So we've already received 2 shipments of new equipment so far earlier this year, and I've listed some of what we have already received. Incidentally, we have 2 more shipments arriving this week. One has already landed, and the other one should be available for release by Friday. We have a 3rd shipment that we're expecting within the next 2 weeks. So here we have Mr. Best, Mr. Keith Best, our national treasurer with over 40 years of experience at the BNSI. So long before I was even a dirty thought. But Keith, with his wealth of expertise, he's there working at our sieve shakers, and these are new pieces of equipment. And we have Damien and Keith when we were installing the compaction machine. And both of these machines are used testing aggregates, soils, and sands. So with respect to the equipment that we have on its way, we would have had our consultations with our clients and our stakeholders to get some feedback from them and determine what tests do they need. What are we currently not doing at the BNSI lab that would be most beneficial to them? Maybe tests that they have to send overseas to get done. So based on their feedback, we would have had our own internal consultations where we thought, well, what's feasible for us? What can we actually afford to bring in? So we have new equipment on its way, and we also have more stuff that we have ordered and paid for, and it's currently being manufactured to our specifications, and we should be receiving that lot by the end of the year. So now that we have all of this beautiful new equipment, we need somewhere to put it. Phase 2 of the renovations, which we would have started towards the end of last year, early this year, we renovated an area that we call the middle laboratory. It's right next door to the soils and materials lab. And what we would have done is we would have gutted the entire area. It had a lot of cupboard space and workbench space that, to be fair, was pretty much only useful for the termites. We really weren't using it for anything. So we gutted the entire space. We would have upgraded the lighting in that area, installed AC units, and a shower and wash basin, safety shower, because we are, after all, a laboratory. So now we have a beautifully clean, well-lit area that is ready and waiting to receive all of our beautiful new equipment in the next few weeks. Building capacity at the laboratory. So let's talk a little bit about the staff in the BNSI lab, the heart and soul of our laboratory. What we would have done is we would have provided training to the ISO 9001 Quality Management System Standard, which is easily the most recognizable and referenced international standard for developing and implementing a quality management system. And it contains everything that you need to know with respect to running, an efficient and effective business or organization. And of course, because we are a laboratory, we had to include the elements of ISO 17025, which is the international standard for competence of testing and calibrating laboratories, which we are, and is not to be confused with the ISO 15189, which is the standard for competence of medical laboratories. And I want you to take a look at those happy, smiling faces of our BNSI staff as they receive their certificates after completing the training. We're very proud of our staff. Although I have to say at this point that with Keith's wealth of experience, there's really nothing we can teach him. But, you know, Keith did it anyway. Good sport. All right, this is a very important slide. So let me get my notes together because I have to make sure that I don't miss a single point about this slide. Continuing with building capacity. Now, if we drive around Barbados, anywhere now, you are going to see many, many construction projects going on. From small domestic projects, people building a house or, you know, a set of apartments, to large capital works projects, building hotels, condos, gated communities. There are projects aimed at providing affordable housing for anyone whose dream it is to own a piece of the rock. There's lots of road works going on, road remediation projects, and the BNSI laboratory provides support for all of these levels of construction projects. Mr. Rind, sir, you stole my thunder, because at this point in time, I was supposed to mention that the BNSI Soils and Materials Laboratory provides support for at least 19 major capital works projects that are easily in the area of hundreds of millions of dollars. Pause for dramatic effect as the crowd erupts in thunderous applause when they hear those numbers. But I digress. Thank you for that. Oh, yeah, okay. Now, as a result of this construction boom, we are completely inundated, positively flooded with requests from the construction and building industry for testing. So much so that it has become an all-hands-on-deck situation. In fact, we've had to increase the number of hands on deck. And in thinking forward, what we've done at BNSI is we have actually started training a group of laboratory technical support persons. We've fully trained them, and we've brought them in to assist us in the lab just so we can meet our clients' needs to get these tests off. And we can see Mr. Osborne, he's not here today, but he is one of those trained persons who is in the laboratory helping us. And I have to tell you that Ozzy probably spends the whole day at the cube crushing machine just pushing off those compression tests. So we have now a small group of fully trained troops that are ready and willing and able to be deployed out to do whatever testing we need done. Because of this construction boom, we anticipate that we're going to be receiving even more requests. So we recently, in the past 2 weeks or so, you would have seen that we advertised for a 6 months temporary laboratory training, because we really do need to ensure that we have a pool of persons who we can call on and rely on to assist us moving forward as much as we can. And you can see our little group, and Mr. Best is giving his vast knowledge to us and training the next generation, because Keith, as we've said a million times, and I will continue to say, is the resource person when it comes to anything dealing with construction or building in Barbados. And Keith, I can cry when you retire, just so you know. So additional activities in the laboratory. Again, this year we had our BNSI laboratory summer internship project, which I'm sure Damien will speak to you a little bit about. We've been continuing to participate in interlab comparisons, and this is another way in which we build the competence and ensure the technical expertise of our lab staff, because basically what we do is we would participate along with some of our regional counterparts in testing materials that have been specifically made and previously tested by an accredited lab, sent in to us, and we would perform the same tests, procedures, and then we would compare our results with what are the known results. And that's a really wonderful way of ensuring that not only are the machines working well, but also our staff, they are technically competent in performing the tests, and we know our results will be accurate, reproducible, and what we would expect. And of course, as I mentioned, the continued training of our troops, and we will also have to train them in the new areas in the lab where we are bringing in our equipment. And I believe that that is it from me. Thank you very much for your attention, and for still applauding me with the information you already heard.
Wonderful, Lynn. Mr. Cornwall is here. I know you get that one, Phoebe. I know you get that one. So that just tells me that there are not many cricket fans in here. But for those who know, Cornwall is the man. I will leave a couple balls for you to knock away, Mr. Ryan. Don't worry. So I'm going to give a presentation on the works in the scientific metrology aspect of the lab. And without much further ado, the lab supports sectors across the landscape of the nation in 5 main categories at present: food and beverage, agriculture and livestock farming, medical, aviation, and legal metrology. Thankfully, we have 2 of the main players in the legal metrology field here with us who can corroborate my assessments and assertions here. We also give assistance in mass metrology and verification, temperature and relative humidity verification, tooling, soils and materials, as you would have heard from Lynn and Mr. Ryan earlier. And then we are also playing a part in outreach programs to educate some of the youth across the landscape and some public awareness as well through our interventions, whether it be online visibility conferences or in person at some of our fieldwork activity. We assist and play a role in regulatory and policy creation, as we would have been assisting the DCCA and the CPC over the last year in the build-out of the new National Metrology Bill. So we would like to tap ourselves on the back for some of that work, because it is very important with a national context. Well, this is not how I designed my stuff, but nonetheless. What I'm showing here, we would have done some laboratory exercises to ensure that our reference materials in the lab were still up to par. So we have metrology grade class reference weights from, I think this one, Mr. Ryan, is the 1 kilogram reference weight that you would have introduced me to, that was given to you a few years ago. We've also procured 2 cases of mass weights that we use across the landscapes I would have alluded to before, providing that mass reference service to food and beverage for their ingredient components and mixing of reagents and what have you. That also is done in collaboration with the DCCA at the airport for luggage scales, very important for the weights going on to the aircraft. We support metrology services across multiple sectors, yes. And then at the bottom, focusing on accreditation of the laboratory over the next 2 years, 2024 to 2026. So that's in our QMS build-out, accrediting the lab, yeah? I will let Mr. Ryan speak to that, because I'm sure he is going to allude to it. All right, we'll be back on track now. So that was a dot ball. All right. So as I was saying earlier, we also engage in public awareness to let the public know what we're involved in, how it affects them in the day-to-day application, because a lot of people are confused about metrology. Much of them confuse metrology with meteorology, and I have experience in both, so I know these nuances and the ways to not dumb down, but bring it down to a layman's terms so they understand what's the difference. So these are some photos from our exercise last year, where we would have partnered with Trust Fund and Export Barbados. We had a trade and conference fair at Hoyt's Village in St. James. We've also assisted the agribusiness sector, in specific the dairy farm industry, and that's continuing works. There would have been reported instances of discrepancies in milk transfers, just trying to use my terms correctly. So what was occurring, or what has been reported, is that the milk farmers are saying, well, you know what, I have 25,000 kilograms of milk in my tank, but when they transfer the milk to Pine Hill Dairy, they're recording 22,000 or 27,000. So we've entered that space now to assist both sides. So we're not playing a role either heavily, but sitting on the fence. So we are verifying that we have procured 2 volumetric analysis devices. Both are in the lab. We are awaiting a receipt of shipment from some additional equipment. We have the DAC, the Data Acquisition Unit, to monitor and measure the milk, and we're waiting on the skip and a few other fine bits from VanSAD. So some interregional collaboration from Trinidad. Yeah, VanSAD is the actual regional representative for Endress-Hauser, and we would have purchased the volumetric devices for Endress-Hauser in Europe. Yeah. We do get out into the field. So on arrival, I would have indicated to Mr. Ryan and Ms. Seeley that, you know, we need to purchase some additional equipment that will help our staff to go out into the field and perform works that can be done in the absence of equipment coming into the lab. So there's Mr. Prescott, all the way in St. Andrew at Mr. Hode's milk farm. He has a milk farm with goats as well as cattle. So he was having some challenges with his vat in terms of measuring the temperature and ensuring that what he would have been storing and then transferring to Pine Hill Dairy as well as consumers would have been meeting HACCP regulations. So we're operating in the HACCP space, helping in food and beverage. These are some other photos from Ashford Milk Farm. So I would have visited about 3 farms, 2 in St. Lucie, 1 in St. John, and 1 in St. Lucie, to look at the equipment that was on site so that we can develop the specific connections for the volumetric devices that we would have brought in. So that when we move from farm to farm, every farmer has a different storage tank, and the storage tanks have different inlets and outlets. So it had to be a very unique design for each of them. So there are, thankfully, 2 of the 4 are using similar tanks, and then the other 2 have their unique attachments. So we have procured the specific attachments that enable us to move from farm to farm without any difficulty. A bit earlier, this year, Fabian? Yeah, last year? Holy, time flying, boy, we're busy. We had a visit from a representative from JICA in our energy efficiency works. So they would have came to our previous building over by the Small Business Association, handed over the equipment, and this summer, with our summer interns, we were able to get them to utilize them to some extent. We weren't able to actually connect them to anything significant as such, but what they were able to do, because the workload is so heavy, it's just myself and Lane in metrology per se, they passed on information to me in terms of the use of the Hioki device in measuring appliances such as refrigerators and AC units, so that we can get a context of our energy use in the office, and that can be transposed into homes as well. So that's continuing works. I do at times assist Mr. Best and cohort in the field for soils and materials. I'm not sure if you are aware of the Allure construction project. It's very nearby to Brandon's Beach. There's a big sign on Spring Garden. So we would have done some works there. We went out with some of the experts in the construction field, Mr. Sarfaz, Keith, and a couple others. I think Ozzy was there as well. Can't remember exactly. But we would have gone and we would have tested the foundation, utilizing some of the same equipment that Lynn would have spoken about. Obviously, you know, you want to ensure that if you're building on the seaside, all that is reclaimed land. My grandmother's from that area, so I'm well aware of all of Brandon's area, what it was many, many years ago. And if you want to put anything substantial in terms of condominiums or hotels, then you have to do your due diligence and make sure that the foundation is strong. Are you sure you know all this? Yeah? Right. Medical sector. Annually, we go to QEH to ensure that their scales, I'm sorry, they're still using analog scales, so this is a conversation for the Ministry of Health. We need to move away from that, get into digitized devices. But we help them in assisting their quality assurance and audits for their equipment to ensure, you know, that you're getting 200 milligrams of oxypropylene hydrol so that no one gets doses of medical equipment that is not suit or best fit for them, because that could be quite serious an issue. So we go through the hospital on an annual basis and we calibrate about, it's more than 2, it's about 8 devices, because there was 2 departments that I would have gone to, and they have at least four scales of different models throughout those departments. So that's another space that we are working in. This is a bit of back context on the same van side. This is a representative from Trinidad who came into the office. So that was an exercise where we were clearly defining some of the works that we were going to engage in each other with for the volumetric analysis devices, not only just the dairy sector, but we also had some designs on the rum industry. And of recent, we've had to recraft, I had to recraft some plans for Barbados Water Authority. So we're going to enter that space as well. So I believe at this point, it might be more important for us to focus on water as opposed to rum. But maybe it's not a decision for me. But definitely dairy has been taken care of, and we will make a decision on water or rum. And I will raise my hand and I will say which one is more important to me. But I'll keep that to myself. Yeah, water. Then with our youth engagement, this is last summer, so we've had 2 summer internship programs. We would have done our skills project last year, and we found some quite interesting results out of this project. Some could be a bit divisive, but the reality is that there are some, or too many, instances of non-compliance in packaging across the retail market. So not to, blow up anybody's spot, but we would have tested sugar and rice. Some of the labels would have had 2,000 grams of sugar in it, and when we measured, it was like 1,800. So when you think about that in context of costs, consumers are never going to want to lose out. Likewise, retailers are not going to want to lose out. So we are going to continue to work in that space. We continue this to some extent this year to ensure that those stakeholders are aware of the issues that need addressing. And this is a project that we are fully behind, as well as the DCCA. You would have heard Mr. Ryan mention the International Food Center as well. They reached out to us early this year because they were having some issues in calibrating their pH meters. So Ms. Marshall, who is on the far left, she would have called me and she was like, well, Damien, we're having trouble at the FSC. We can't get this pH meter calibrated. Can you come and help us? Yeah, off. Sorted out, pH meter working again. They can get back into their operations with their condiments, spices, and marinades and stuff, because again, that's a HACCP space. Foster's Bakery, bread. Everybody loves bread. That's another one of our key partners. And this year, some of the works that we performed with them, as Kira alluded to, brought in a quite substantial piece of bread. That's what Mr. Ryan said, yeah? So Mr. Foster, at the first instance, which would be last summer, I guess maybe during the break of COVID, something would have happened. Maybe he didn't get recertified, but he wanted to recommence exporting his products regionally. So he needed to comply, obviously, with HACCP. Reached out to BNSI, we went in, we did some testing on his ovens, his chillers, his fridges, and we've continued that work this year. He sent us requests for additional works, as I said, in 2023 as compared to 2022, and it was quite substantial. So it means that BNSI is making their presence known in the food and beverage market. So that's a feather in their cap. Here we are at Ocean Fisheries in Warrens. Not so much so HACCP, but kind of a foul practice alert. They would have called in and said, you know, we have two scales. So the two scales you're seeing on the left and the middle photo, one is the wholesale scale, and then the one in the middle is the retail. But what was happening is that they thought they had an issue with the scale itself, thinking that it was out of tolerance, when it really was not. Somebody was tolerating fish in another direction. So they were recognizing large discrepancies in the weight of the fish coming from the wholesale department, entering the retail department, onto the customer. So not that it was a metrology specific activity in terms of compliance or accreditation or certification, but we were able to identify to them, well, listen, something is happening afoul here and y'all need to check the processes, yeah? So added value. Portville, the sugar industry, continue works there. This is my first introduction to equipment at BNSI. Mr. Ryan would have gone through the hot block cell and its calibration when I first started, and that work is continuing. We are pleased to have them on board, or pleased to continue working with them. So that's another area that we are in. This is COSCAB, our BBC in Newton. We recently got a call from Banks Holdings as well for a similar activity. Here we are doing calibrations on their CO2 tanks, which obviously infuse the carbonated drinks with the gas. The importance here is that if you have overpressure in the gas, then that could lead to explosion. Somebody could get injured. That's a health and safety ticking box that we're working in. So on the digitization aspect, I would engage a gentleman called Mr. Satish Nandopal. He works at Tezos. And the reason being is that I see an area where we can kind of transform our service offerings and our interaction with our clients into a digitized format. So I'm looking at ways that we can streamline our services in the IT space, whether it be from a web application or a digital app. So our customers can have the BNSI app in their face, go to the app, get a price for a service, click on it, request it. That can come to us via an email, and anyone in the office who has the responsibility for that department can pick up that ticket, respond to it, let the customer know, well, yes, we received your request, and it makes the whole process a lot more efficient. As well as payment, we don't have to necessarily wait on our clients to pay us via check or to send a wire. They can pay online, as I'm sure Mr. Braffett is well aware, and it makes the whole process of collecting your revenue a lot more efficient. Yes? Margaret, DCCA, Bertram, DCCA, working at the airport. Skills at the airport, very important. No one wants to be on an aircraft that is carrying heavier weight than it's supposed to be. So all 78 skills at the airport were calibrated or verified within the last month through our collaborative works, right? It may go over the heads of some, but I think this is very important. I know it from the aspect of meteorology. I know what ICAO specifications are required at airports and how important the verification of skills are. You don't want to take off in the aircraft, well, you probably will not, because the pilot will know if he's heavier than he's supposed to be. But all of the skills at the airport are working to their specifications. And again, at the airport, ATSB, they would have reached out to us last year. So we currently do not have the capacity to provide the services for them, the tooling services, calibration for some of their high pressure gauges and torque wrenches. But what we did is we reached out to our partners in Guyana, GMBS, who do have that service capacity. So we're making those linkages together and making the service available to our clients here on the island. And I'm sure that there's scope to expand on that across the regional perspective. Last but not least, climate. So I have 11 years in the met industry, meteorology, as well as about 8 years in metrology, specific to the meteorology space. This is a workshop that we were unable to attend physically, but I did get some information from it virtually through a partner in Canada. It's a space that I think that we can develop. Everyone is talking about climate change. I'm a bit reserved when I hear people speaking about climate change because I know everybody is not as genuine about it as it should be. I have skin in the game, so I understand the importance of it. What I think we can do, I think BNSI can be a reference point for metrology, for meteorology across our region. That is ensuring that all of the climate stations in the CARICOM territories are operating, are being operated or utilized in a manner where we can be assured that the data that they're collecting, temperature, relative humidity, leaf wetness, soil moisture, rain. I mean, actuaries and insurance companies often go to data repositories for meteorology equipment to then decide if they're going to pay a client, well, you know, you had some storm damage, but how much rain was it really, right? So you could say, well, you know, the Met Office report that it was 6 inches of rain in 2 hours. That's a lot of rain. You have to have a weather station that's verified. I would have built that space when it was at CIMH. It's a void at present, and I think it's an area that we can set our focus on. So I will be continuing to work in this space with my colleague, Mr. Best, Nicole Best from CrossQ. We have a project that we are going to submit by the end of this week with NIST to apply for some grant funding so that we can do an exercise in this space. The laboratory area which Lynn would have spoken about is an ideal place where we can set up miniaturized weather station, and we can bring in sensors, we can attach them to the weather station, calibrate them, and send them back out to the players in the space. It's a great opportunity. That's as much as I would say. I could tell you I know the numbers in my head, but I will keep those reserved. And that is it for the Scientific Metrology Department. Thank you. I'm now going to make the floor available to Ms. Alicia Maloney, our Information Officer at BNSI. She's going to report on, she's going to report on BNSI's outreach programs. So Ms. Maloney, please join me here at the podium. Forward, back. Yes.
Okay, before you go, Damien, how many runs do we need?
Oh, we are at 41, and we have 6 balls to go. So between yourself and Mr. Ryan, gotta bring this home.
Yes, please, all 6s. Okay, I am delighted to share with you some of the exciting and informative awareness initiatives the Barbados National Standards Institution has undertaken in the year 2022 to 2023. The BNSI placed a strong focus on assisting the local business community in enhancing their customer service relationships. Some of the activities included engagements at business fairs and participation in a regional podcast. Other than supporting the business community, the BNSI participated in activities to engage the public and its staff by featuring a social media campaign and a Christmas video. The business fairs were hosted by the Ministry of Energy and Business, and this afforded us the opportunity to educate the public and local businesses about the positive impact of customer service standards on organizations. During the business fair, we carried out a survey, and they revealed that 99% of the respondents rated customer service in Barbados as very poor. while 92% believe that customer service standards could improve these interactions. From these engagements, the BNSI heard the sentiments of the patrons and noted them, and we became even more enthusiastic to assist the business community in building better relationships with their customers. Our engagement extended to a regional podcast called Quality Link. Quality Link is a production of the Marketing, Information, Knowledge Management, and Education Committee of the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality. We call that the MIC Committee. BNSI produced the 8th episode, again reinforcing the topic of customer service and standards. Areas covered in the podcast included definition of customer service, the role of standards in improving customer relations, and the importance of addressing customer issues. We also introduced the we also introduced the international standard ISO 2352, which is a service excellence standard, and you can use that as a guide for delivering excellent customer service. To listen to our contribution, visit our Facebook page. It's there. And you will also find intriguing topics by the other regional national standards bureaus. I want to take this opportunity to welcome thank Ms. Michelle Radadurant, myself, Ms. Catherine Daniel, she's the CEO of Southpaw Graphics, Inc., and Ms. Kelly Sinhill, she's the chair of the Barbados of the BNSI Customer Service Satisfaction Development Committee for their valuable contributions to our podcast. Last October, we celebrated World Standards Day by conducting a social media campaign. The initiative aimed to educate the public about the significance of World Standards Day and the role of the BNSI. The campaign featured a 10-day countdown to October 14th, and daily questions were posed on the Facebook page, and we selected a winner daily. On October 14th, we released a promotional video in support of the World Standards Day theme, which is Shared Vision for a Better World, in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We joined the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality. Again, this production was headed by the MIC Committee to do a Christmas video. The video featured BNSI staff. Yes, you can see we had a great time, all tied up, serenaded. Santa paid us a visit. So basically what this video did, and the intention was to spread Christmas cheer from the Caribbean to the world. These videos were broadcasted via social media during the holiday season. This regional collaboration allowed us to showcase the spirit of camaraderie and goodwill to a broader audience. In conclusion, the BNSI is unwavering in its commitment to support local businesses, promote international standards, and elevate customer service experience in Barbados. We will continue to participate in regional collaborations to reach a broader audience as the opportunity arises. Thank you for your attention, and we encourage you to explore the resources and content we've shared to enhance your knowledge and understanding of the importance of standards and quality.
Alicia, I think you stole my notes. If you return it for me, please. Thank you. That's true. That's a good bat. Nonetheless, we are now, thankfully, with the assistance of Alicia, at 44 runs with 2 balls. Alicia has handed over to Mr. Ryan, so he has some very big shoes to fill. Mr. Ryan is going to give the closing remarks for our 50th anniversary celebrations and visibility conference. And I would just like to make him aware of the fact that this ball is turning very big, off break, but you can look for a little googly. So please do not disappoint us. We want at least a 6 over mid-on. All right? Mr. Ryan, please come and close the ceremony with a big 6. Mr. Ryan, Director of BNSI.
Well, thank you, Damien. You've left me with 1 stroke. So I will swipe and see what happens. But before that, you must know that it is not always easy when being asked to come to a podium to deliver. Others, like Damien, find it quite second nature. But some of the BNSI team, initially were a little reserved. But as I sat there and I saw people speak from their hearts, speak about their involvement and their work in BNSI throughout the years, and you would have seen the number of years, 20, 25, 30, 40 in one case. It really reminds me that we have a very special team at the BNSI. Not just people who punch the clock and can't wait to go home in the evenings, but really a team committed and dedicated to the work of the institution. All of you presented very, very well. I sat there and I was well pleased with the way in which you handled your presentations, but you could see, the passion and the excitement as we journey in this thing called quality infrastructure. So sincerely, it would be amiss of me not to thank first the hardworking, dedicated team at BNSI. I give my sincere thanks to all of your efforts throughout all of the departments, from managers through the board of directors, right down to every person seated here today and those listening who could not be with us. I thank you sincerely for your effort and your service throughout the years. Thank you. And for our partners and our stakeholders who have joined us today, you've given not just of your time, but you've given of your attention. And I know that this journey too, we cannot even begin to have the kind of rewards that we want if we do it alone. So together, I am certain that we can build this quality culture that we know we need to make a strategic difference. I love my country. I know that you love this country, Barbados, as well. We are small. When I sit and I listen to some of the plans that have been outlined, especially technical plans with certification and verification in our laboratory, we have big, big plans. And on the global map, when you look at Barbados, we are very small. However, together, we can make the kind of impact that makes a difference. We can build this quality culture. We can definitely help to support the trade that we have, not just in Barbados, but in our region. We have our Regional Standards Bureau supporting us with technical support, supporting us with all the training that we need. So we've started to really build capacity with this vision of being A pioneer, yes, as it started 50 years ago, but a beacon of excellence when it comes to standards, when it comes to quality in our region. And I believe that we're getting there, Fabian. I believe that we will achieve all that we heard this morning and more. I believe that standards, international best practices will be forward in Barbados, be at the center of all of our plans, all of our policies, and in our psyche. So I thank you for your attendance. Again, I had one swing of the bat. I'd like to thank the venue and all those who contributed towards this lovely session that we had. I know that late nights went into some of the preparation from not just the team, but people outside, the media, the guys who handle the streaming live. I thank you very much for your efforts in putting this entire visibility conference together. So yes, we're 50, but I too am looking forward to how many ever more years the dear Lord graces me with. I don't know if it will be another 50. I didn't say, but when BNSI came into being with Director Rind, it was the same year that he had another success. And that was the year that I was born. So he had to share his attention from being, you know, the founder of this national standards body, and a very demanding son who over the years could not help but listen to the passion and the drive and the vision that Mr. Ryan not just had, but has. You know, and I know that he's listening to the program, and I know that he's seeing the team and the progress that we've made over the 50 years. And he too has extended his pride and his thanks to the BNSI team. So for everyone listening and how you've contributed over the 50 years for the BNSI, sincerely, I thank you, and I welcome your efforts as we continue to march towards this quality culture, towards competitiveness in all aspects of our businesses and our operations, towards a society that's protected. Why? Because we've built international standards into our being. And towards us being able to trade with serious punches, despite being small. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, media. And I invite you to have lunch with us as we discuss perhaps the next 50 years. I thank you.
So as is customary, as we are all well aware, when you raise 50 runs, we raise our bat. So I would like to encourage all of you to just raise your hand in the 50th run or year's recognition of the BNSI. And just hold it there so we can get some photos. 50 amazing years, and here is to 50 more. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hooray! All right, you are welcome to join us for lunch on the outside, and we have officially closed this session. Thank you. The awardees, all awardees, can you